it hasn't been an easy ride. Most people don't know physically the stuff that I've had to deal with. I had chronic pain for 3.5 years. I've just had back surgery. That stuff, kind of can weigh you down. And I think mentally and physically, if there's stuff you're ticking along the back of your head, you can see it. Like it shows on your physique, it shows on your face. And then, it was really when I started training to be fit and strong, then get my strength so that I could go into the surgery I've just had. Like I've been training like that for a couple of years now, which is kind of, I've been talking about it as rehabilitation training or prehabilitation training. And with that, I feel strong and I feel good and I fit my clothes well. And, it's not about vanity anymore. I used to train in my 20s and 30s purely just for the pump. But now it's so that I can be strong, so I can have a strong spine, so that I can, feel fit and able and, just do just simple things like pat my dogs and go for a walk and not be in pain, And I guess that's the thing. As you get older as a man, you have to just change your priorities. I think it's not the same. You don't have the same body as a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old. I'm 44 this year. And, so that's been my approach to my fitness, to my health. I eat super well.
So talk me through your eating regime, because that's changed too, right?
Yeah, it did. So he's like, right, I'm going to do F45 challenge. I'm going to do that for 8 weeks. Obviously, I had my back issue, so I couldn't do the challenge. But I started eating like he did. And, their ethos is 5 meals a day, you portion control, you snack, you plan your snacks, you understand, protein versus carbs versus fats, or, the macros of those across the board. And, that stuff sounded really complicated when I didn't understand it, but it's actually really simple. And if you don't know about it, just do a little bit of research. It's simple. But when I started eating the way that Olivier was eating for that, my body completely changed. Like I just got lean and fit and strong, and it was getting everything it needed. So that was a big deal. What the way we eat now, and I'm married to a Frenchman, right? So we have like gluten-free bread and butter for breakfast every day. And I know there's not a lot of protein in that. That's what we eat. And like a coffee. That's that. And then I'll have a protein shake. And then we have, a macros home delivery meal for lunch. I'll have another protein shake or protein rich snack. And then for dinner, we'll just have, lean meat and some sort of fibrous vegetables. And that's kind of it. So we don't eat like, with lots of cream and fat and deep fried and flavor and all that sort of, that's not us. We do eat really quite functional food, but it's always flavorsome. It's always healthy. I really love healthy food. I love, the crunch of green vegetables, and I just love the flavor.
Did you learn to be a good cook for health and flavor, or did you always like cooking?
I have BioACE, which is a really great immune booster, and it's a really great sort of, what's it called? Free radical.
Anti-inflammatory, yeah. Free radical buster.
Them. I also take magnesium every day, and I also take zinc every day because my body doesn't absorb those super well, so I have to supplement them. But apart from that, I used to be on anti-inflammatories and stuff like that for my back, but I don't need that anymore, which is awesome. So yeah, that's really that, and some collagen gummies. Love those. We sort of chew on those as a little bit of a treat. And in terms of treats, yeah, I mean, I'm like Mr. Messina. I love gelato. I love ice cream, but no, I have to sort of, we still have treats, obviously, but we are very sensible about how we treat. And one of the substitutes that I really, really like is 90% Lindt dark chocolate. And the best thing about it is you can have 2 or 3 pieces. You can't have any more than that because you don't want to. So, I really like that sort of bitterness in chocolate now. And whenever I have really sugary chocolate, it tastes like acid to me. So when you start to change the way you eat, your palate changes. And then the more you eat that way, the more you want to eat that way, and the more sort of positive feedback you get neurologically. And, it's not just about that feedback of how you start to see yourself and how you start to feel in your clothes, but also you get those sort of dopamine feedbacks where the things that wouldn't have given you a dopamine release start to give you that sort of, chemical light up because oh, this is a treat. Whereas, 90% chocolate for some people might be not particularly delicious, but I love it.
There's a lot of things that we can introduce into our life that can actually change our neuroplasticity, because agelessness is about your mental dexterity, your alertness, your memory, things that spark joy, things that make you feel sexy, things that make you feel young. What are some of the things that you've learned that if you reintroduce them or have them in your life can give you that, kick, that dopamine hit, the flush of joy or youth that, you wouldn't have those feelings or that energy?
Without sounding like a cat poster, if I get some time alone and I can get my feet in the sand, particularly somewhere in nature, so I mean, Hymes Beach is perfect for me. That makes me feel reinvigorated. I'm like alive in that environment. So that's an absolute must for me. Music, cannot do without music. I live my life to a soundtrack of all sorts of different stuff. We listen to a lot of Hamilton, the musical, in our house right now, but I also listen to all sorts of pop stuff. And, when I write, I listen to Ludovico Einaudi, like only, because I can pop that in and literally the words just come straight out. And I love to write, but I always write to Ludovico Einaudi, which is, it blocks everything out and just fires up this part of my brain that is just on. And then, with creativity, I get that in work all the time. So for me, that keeps me sort of agile mentally, because I'm always thinking. The hard thing for me is actually to stop my brain from spinning and going over details. When I was planning the renovation that we're going to do on our house, and there's always something, I'm forever moving things around in my head. Just, that should be this, I should put a skylight there, that light, this detail, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't stop. And that's actually how I knew that I wanted to be an interior designer, because that's always been in there, and I never listen to it or let it out. And then one day I realized that if I don't just let that creative outlet out, it's just going to occupy all of my mind.
Something we both love is skincare, anti-aging treatments, beauty. And I'm going to call on the great Bible that is the Daily Mail when they said, has Darren Palmer had work done?
Has he ever?
Have you had work done?
Yeah, of course I have. I mean, the thing about a Daily Mail article like that, and that happened last year, and, they said, has he had a renovation on his face? And
it certainly did look fresh.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason is because if science says that it's going to make me look younger, I'll do it. I don't have any problems with it. Like I have no shame around the fact that as a man, I look after my skin. The truth is, until again, just before I got married, there were days that I would open my piggy bank just to eat, right? Like I went from being a graphic designer and earning fairly good money, but also putting a lot of that money into real estate. And then having no money. Like when I changed careers, my income just took a nosedive. And so there were times that I was absolutely destitute, and just like still had a house, still could eat, but had to open my piggy bank for spare change, you know. So I never thought that I would have the capacity financially to invest into things like my face, you know. And the fact that you know this story, but everybody else doesn't, and I really hope people understand it in the context it was intended. Because when we were getting married, just before we got married, Olivier, because he works in cosmetics and he's a cosmetics industry expert, he said to me, "Look,
baby,
I don't know how you're going to take this, but if you wanted before the wedding to get anything done, I'd pay for it for you." And I was like, "Do you think you're going to offend me with that?" Because yes, I'm there. I made him hold my hand. So the first time I got Botox, he had to sort of. Actually, I'll pull that up. The first time I got anti-wrinkle injections, he held my hand. Yeah. But since then, yeah, I mean, the idea of aging well as you're in your middle ages and older, it's just literally, you know this as well as I do. You lose volume, you lose fat changes, it migrates to different spots. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff that you can do that I've done happily. You know, there's a little bit of filler, there's a little bit of Botox, you know, there's just skin treatments. I mean, well, my teeth, funnily, I'm wearing Invisalign right now. But my teeth are actually part of a whole other thing that I discovered health-wise probably 4 or 5 years ago. Like my bite was wrong and my jaw was wrong and my breathing was wrong. So, I wasn't getting oxygen properly. So I've had all that stuff done as well. So I'm not only about what's on the top layer, or, Olivia likes to say that there's the canvas and there's the frame. I'm not just about the canvas and the frame. I'm also about functionality and being well and being healthy, being able to breathe properly, getting enough oxygen in my body. But I have no shame whatsoever about what I have or haven't done. If it was an honest conversation with, wanting to have an honest discussion, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But
so I want to have an honest discussion. What have been your favorite bang for buck anti-aging treatments that you go, why did I not know about this earlier?
Oh God, I mean, filler and Botox are just like a walk in the park, right? I mean, that's just normal everyday maintenance. Filler every 18 months or so, Botox every 4 months or so. I mean, it just keeps everything the way I like to look. I did have threads, and I had them under here just so that I could get a little bit of that sort of aging under jaw that was, I was a bit concerned about. So that's interesting. And then, recently, actually just before Sydney lockdown, I got some through here. So that all that does is just creates an opportunity, once those threads dissolve, that your body builds collagen back. So it sounds like it's a big, scary thing, but really it's just promoting your body to naturally repair and fill in gaps with natural collagen. That's it. What it does do is sort of just helps hold the scaffold up, and I'm happy with the way I look.
So I'm always interested to ask, what are you using? And especially with men, open the door, what other grooming do you get done? Do you get your lashes tinted? Do you color your hair? What do you do? What are the options for a man?
Generationally, there's people that are sort of just older than us that do definitely have more shame around, I've got to pretend that I didn't do that stuff. And as you know, I mean, it just it just doesn't read well. You know, if you look different to you're kind of supposed to look at your age you're at, people wonder why. And it's because you're doing something that everybody else isn't doing. And if you're just saying it's olive oil, and you know, then how does that make anybody feel that's just
That's how I
aging
feel.
naturally?
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, but why don't I look like that? Well, because you haven't had filler and you haven't had Botox and you haven't had threads, you know, because you don't do laser treatments and LED light treatments, and you don't do all those things that everybody that you think looks great, that's what they're doing. I mean, that's that. But for men, this is the cheat sheet, right? So whenever I'm filming for the blog, this is my weekly what I have to do to turn from UGG boots and tracksuits, Darren, to ready for TV, Darren. And I actually I did it to talk to you today too. So spray tan, tan in a can, best thing ever. Just evens out the skin tone. Love it. I always feel like I'm just more even skin toned, but also just a bit more vibrant with just some color on my skin, because I don't like to be in the sun. Keeping out of the sun to the other one. SPF, or definitely just trying to limit your sun exposure, will always save your skin and save your face. I don't dye my hair on my head, but I do dye my beard because I've got two big white patches here. And beard dye is transformative for men. Like, you don't want to be, you know, that sort of jet black raven hair with like a black beard, or that's just kind of weird look. But there are colors that match. Like, all of this is natural except for here, right? So if you match the color to your natural hair color, great. And you know what? I feel 5 years younger when I don't have these two big white patches on my beard.
What do you do in terms of diet, and what exercises can you do, and you can share with our listeners that they can do that will kind of give you a bit of maintenance until you can go back to your normal gym or diet or whatever routine that you can do on the fly?
You can definitely take resistance bands with you, but often I didn't, or I wouldn't remember to. So just doing simple things like, and again, because I've got the back issue, I had to learn a whole bunch of different ways of moving. But you can do, you know, non-weight bearing lunges. You can do hip thrusts sitting on the floor. You can do planks. You can do side planks. You can do side plank elevation with the leg. Anything that'll sort of strengthen your core. Push-ups. All those simple things. They'll give you the maintenance you need if you're away for a day or two, and that's all the workout that you need. I mean, if you can jump around and stuff, then burpees and you know, skipping rope and all that stuff is great. I'm not able to jump, but I will be soon. But that's, you know, anything that you can do where you're just sort of moving your body, you know, and sit down, stand up, like that sort of squat, a lunge, anything planking, anything core stabilizing, anything that works out like in a Pilates type manner. You can do that in a hotel room. When I'm away, I make as good a decisions as I can in terms of diet. Sometimes, so, you know, if it's a Saturday night and I'm in a hotel room, it kind of is the naughty night. And so I'll order, you know, something delicious with a dessert. But otherwise, I'm not rigid with the way I eat. We have lots of flexibility in it, but I know what's good, and I know what makes me feel good, and I know when I feel best in my clothes, and I kind of like to stay within those parameters.